All right, good morning, everyone. So I'm Holly Kim, your Lake County Treasurer, and I'm here joined by Board Member John Wasik. Hey, John.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. And why don't you tell them where your area of jurisdiction is?
I represent the 6th District, which is Grays Lake and Haynesville mostly.
Nice. Okay. We are going to visit the website. This is lakecountyil.gov, and this is the main page. So if you type in lakecountyil.gov, you'll find everything from all the county board agendas to departments where if you need help at the clerk's office, like everything is located here. So where we're going to go on lakecountyil.gov is right here in the middle where it says property tax information. Do you know about this page, John?
Oh, yes, it's really useful.
All right, let's see here. So today what we're going to go to is right here up in front. As soon as you click on it, it's the example property tax bill. And we're going to take a tour of it for you. All right, and this is what it looks like. I will just go through these letter prompts. But I do believe, a lot of people have questions about the property tax bill. How did you get to this number? Frequently it's, why is it so high? I have to go over some of these questions today, and hopefully, knowledge is power, and we're informing the residents on how they can go over line by line on their tax bill and understand it. So here, section A, I think it's self-explanatory. It's just your name, your address. When you receive this, you should always check to make sure it's valid. If you are living somewhere else for half the year, or if you're renting it out, there is on the Lake County Treasurer page a name address change form so that this could be forwarded somewhere else, and your mailing address can be separate of your property address. So always check it every single year to make sure it's still applicable. Section B here, what you should know is that the tax year is always 1 year in arrears. So this example, in the 2020 year, you would be getting your 2019 tax bill. The reason why is because in the current year, you would be getting your blue assessment notice from the assessor's office talking about your assessed values. And those numbers are aggregated to the following year to make your tax bill. So it will always be 1 year behind, and that causes a little bit of confusion when people call asking for a receipt, but we are always 1 year in arrears at the treasurer's office. C here is all zeros, but the example is the PIN number. That's your property index number, and every single property in Lake County, Illinois, and all over the US actually has their own unique PIN number, and that's kind of like the social security number of your property. It's a unique identifier. D here is the barcode that we use at our automated payment center. And the reason why it's highlighted is just for us to remind you, please don't tamper with it. If there's any marks on here, it gets rejected from the automated payment center and comes to the office to be hand entered, which is not like that big of a deal in the long run, but with enough of those, it creates quite the backlog of manual labor. So try not to tamper with the barcode. Now from D, we're gonna actually skip all the way down here to E, which is like the legal description. Sometimes people are confused by what is written in this whole space, while the property location is, right here, and that's the address you always see. The legal description might be like XYZ subdivision, lot number 52. And that was kind of like the legal description of when the developer first purchased the property. And so it might be confusing, but it's just, what was there in the paperwork before, and it carries over. John, do you want to talk about like this menu area here of F?
Yes, this is really important to know. So these are every one of the taxing bodies that will appear on your tax bill. And it's important to note that every one of these entities has a budget, they discuss it, they vote on it, and it's all public information. And then when they decide on their budget, they have a levy hearing, usually in the fall, where they decide how much taxpayer money they're going to need to fund their operations for the coming year. And you can look at this very carefully, and every one of these taxing bodies must post their budget hearings, they must post their levy hearing, and then they come up with a tax rate which is on your bill. Now, you'll probably notice that the largest portion of your bill comes from the school districts. This is an unusual. It's typical. The county's portion is about 7%. We've been holding the line on spending last few years and even reducing the rate a little bit. but you have a right to know all this information and to dig deeper if you want to know exactly how every dollar is spent.
And so this is an outdated bill sample, but the last 2 years, I believe the county has kept the levy flat, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's great. So just to echo a little bit of what John said, every single line is your local taxing body. In this sample, clearly it says it's Green Oaks and Libertyville, but your tax bill right in this section will say who's asking for what money and how much. So it will include the rate, but then also the change from last year. So if you go, well, it looks like in this example, they went up $804 and they're like, my taxes went up. They can clearly see even down to the 1 cent, where the money went up. So it should never be a question of like, how come these went up? And like, I don't understand why my taxes keep going up. While the answers are laid out here, and each one of these has an elected board that you can contact. All right, so EFG, and let's go over to H here on the right-hand side. You want to talk about this one a little bit, John?
Well, this happens before you get your tax bill. So this is the assessed value of your land and property and your home, and it's done by the township assessors. And what you'll get is this blue notice. And this
I get one of those too.
everybody gets one of these. So and it always happens before you get your tax bill. So this is where the assessor determines, based on the assessed valuation of your home and property, how much they think it's worth. And you are entitled to a lot of exemptions. If you live in your home, you get a homestead exemption. If you're a vet, you get an exemption there. There's a whole range of them. But anyway, you should always read your blue notice because it will tell you about your exemptions, your total valuation. More importantly, you have the right to appeal this. So let's say they don't have the exemptions right, or they have your property description incorrect. Let's say you have 3 bedrooms and they have you down for 5. Well, you can go right to your township assessor. There's 18 of them. Go right in the office, you can call them up, say, hey, I need to correct this, and you have the right to correct it. And it may even reduce your tax bill, depending on a number of other factors. But it's important that you know that you can correct this. And if you disagree with the assessed value of your property, you can file an appeal with the Lake County Board of Review. It's very easy to do this. The links are right online. You don't have to appear in person. And it's a very simple process now. So let's say that the Board of Review turns down your appeal. Where do you go then? You can go to the State Property Tax Appeal Board, called PTAB. So then that's how you appeal your appeal, and the state will decide whether you think or they think your assessed valuation is correct, or lower it or raise it. That's where you go for that. But you have the right to do all these things. First, make sure your property description and exemptions are correct. Go to your assessor first. You have a 30-day window to appeal your assessment through the county. And then if you don't win on that level, you can go to PTAB, Property Tax Appeal Board. So the thing is to keep in mind that once the window is closed on these things, you can, of course, correct your property description anytime. You have to wait another year. So you need to keep your eyes open for this blue notice.
Yeah, I wanted to see if there was a way I could spotlight you real quick to, how do I do that? Well, that's what I get for trying to do it on the fly, but hold it up one more time. And that's the blue notice that does come up. It's sent to you every summer. It's sent, like I said, that's sent the year of, and the numbers on that is what's used to calculate your tax bill, which is 1 year in arrears.
Part of it.
Yeah, so we have the assessed values here. These are all taken off of that blue notice that he was talking about. When he said there was 30 days for you to appeal, it will be on the blue notice. I think on the bottom left corner, it'll say what day you have until to file your appeal and the actual link for the smart file so that you can do that. So here, just make sure these are all correct. And then it is used, I mean, you'll see here, there's a plus sign, minus times, the state multiplier. It is an actual straight downwards calculation here. And so that at the bottom, you know, HI and then the J here. And it's like, how did my tax bill come to this amount? It is through this straight equation going down. And once again, the G, the tax rate, is built from this box over here, the G, and it's brought over to be the grand total of then what's here, right? You want to make sure you have your exemptions because you actually can lower your property taxes on having exemptions. General homestead means you live in that home as your primary residence. It's not rented out. There isn't someone else living there. It's general, it's homestead, your house. Senior homestead means that first of all, you qualify for general homestead, and that senior means you're 65 and older. So then you can have both in this example here. The senior freeze is for anyone whose household income, that's the entire household income, is 65,000 or less. And then you can qualify for these additional ones here as well. Some of these veteran ones, you have to get a letter from the VA. But these are all different things that you could have towards lowering this taxable valuation number. That being said, just because you lower your assessed value, John, doesn't mean 100% that you're going to have a lower tax bill, right? Because what are some other factors that might, you know, really affect this?
So the assessment and exemption part of the bill is really only half the formula. It's pretty simple math, but you know, just because you win an appeal, does that mean your tax bill will go down? Well, sometimes. What really is the other side of this formula is the tax rate on the bottom of the right hand. Yeah, right there. Thank you. That's where the rubber meets the road. And you know, every one of these taxing bodies can raise their rate or lower it every year, and we have no control over that. That's up to their own obligations that year. Maybe they have bonds that they just floated that they have to charge you more for, or maybe they have bonds that are being refunded. That's why those numbers go up and down, and they have operating costs all their own. But you have the right to know what these expenses are, why these numbers go up and down. You can contact every one of these taxing bodies, including Lake County, and we are very transparent in telling you how this money is being spent and why the tax bill goes up or down from one year to another. But you should ask these questions. They're very important.
Right, we're here to definitely serve the residents and answer and educate. In this case, you know, if you receive this bill and you're like, I don't understand, like, why did it go up? It is right here on the left. It'll tell you the exact change from the prior year was $804, and you know, and exactly which bodies went up, and some that even went down. Right, so we should applaud when we can see it. And so that's pretty much it for our sample tax bill. But once again, I want to highlight this page here where anyone can go off the main lakecountyil.gov page, which is right. So lakecountyil.gov. And then right here in property tax information, that's where you're going to find not only that sample bill, but also a whole bunch of other useful info as well. All right, and that's your property tax bill. Thank you so much, Member Wasik, for joining us today.
Thank you, Holly.